Yes, you can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, 1 second. I'll be right back.
Glenn, I think ASA was wanting that capacity. I don't know if
okay.
if the fire department has the same, if they have Crocker or.
Oh, I don't know.
No, they don't.
No, this is part of the whole UMA thing that we're trying to figure out. It's always so much more complicated than we think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, did you see the prices on the roof?
Yes, I did.
Now we've got 80,000 and mid 60s.
Wow.
I don't think it's going to get any less.
Plus the rest of it.
What's that, Doug?
Plus the rafters and all that.
That was no, that was part of that 65,000.
Oh, in the lower bit, it was part of it, right? That's right.
The Bob Bleat figures we can just go in and do piecemeal, like, you know, one board at a time and attach them to the existing trusses that are on each edge of that gap, and that will reinforce the carrying capacity. So that could work fairly. And the guy that's doing the roof says he would do it and doesn't feel like it's a major problem, but a major job, but he won't give me an actual number until he sees Bob's design.
Yeah, while we're on the subject, even though our meeting hasn't officially started and the gavel has not come down, I just wanted to toss in this briefly that I have personal doubts about putting solar panels on a roof in general, and particularly on that building. I should have said this before, but I'm actually acquainted with the roof. I've worked on it from the top. And it's pretty feeble. It's very feeble at the moment. And my question would be to Lori, I think, in the Energy Committee, have people looked into ground mounted over a parking lot, even at that same site at the highway, like at the jail, at the county jail, or other places where the panels are mounted on top of a parking lot and provide cover for the cars? That's my only question at this point.
I don't know if we should, I could go on. This could end up being a long discussion.
I realize
so maybe
that.
We should save it for another time.
Sure.
I guess I'd like to get what you can make sure you can explain later is why it sounds like you said any roof. And so I'd like to know more about why you think that, and then just make sure you're clear. We're talking about replacing and shoring up the roof before we put solar on it. That is the plan.
I understand that, but wouldn't the shoring up have to be bigger for the solar installation than it would be ordinarily?
The answer is no, Dan.
No?
But we can talk in more detail. I've got Bob Lee engineering the calculations, and he's going to provide a letter that states that engineering and code wise that it's up to the capacity to carry the weight.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I just want to toss that in there. Let's get back to our agenda. I think the first thing on our agenda is a call to order, and then we need to approve minutes. Is that right, Glenn?
That's right.
It says the agenda says amend or approve minutes, but the minutes look okay to me. How about the rest of the board?
They look okay to me.
Look good to me.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for March 30th.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is schedule review. So on April 27th will be your next meeting, and that's also the night of the next warrant.
Thanks.
That's 2 weeks from yesterday.
And then will we have a meeting within a week then to get onto our new schedule?
Yeah, so the 27th is the 5th Wednesday, so officially you are on schedule, and then you will proceed to the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays in May.
So the next meeting after the 27th would be?
The 4th, May 4th.
May 4th. Okay, I appreciate the reminder, because the schedule changes are still hard to get into my mind, but yep. I will get there.
Yeah, great, thank you, appreciate it.
Do you mind a question on that meeting schedule?
No,
I hadn't heard. Are you still planning to have Zoom meetings, or are you going to go back to in-person?
That's a good question, which we haven't talked about. And I was going to raise it at the end of this meeting, but since you did, let's talk about it now. What does the rest of the board think? I'm looking forward to it.
I think part of the question would we feel we needed to be masked, or and would it make a difference, you know, vaccinated, not vaccinated? It maybe have some kind of rules about if the cases are going up or something. You know, keep an eye on things. I don't know if Barbara it'd be good to consult her, but I could go either way, because I don't mind Zoom, and I don't particularly love wearing a mask and having a meeting with masks. So
yeah, I do love seeing your mouth. nothing personal, but it's great to see people's faces. It's important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long can we? Oh, yeah. Why don't you add it to the agenda? Because I'd like the information about how long can we legally hold Zoom meetings. I can't remember what they extended it to.
Mid-July, but
July 15th. Thanks, Anna. That's an interesting date.
It could change.
Yes, it could.
All right, I will add it to your next agenda. Anything else on schedule review?
Well, could we hear from Gillian about what she feels about the in-person at this point?
I'm living in a world for work where masks are optional. I'm still tending to wear a mask at work. And I could either go either way. I'm okay with mask optional in terms of people, you know, choosing whether they want a mask or not. There's something about the Zoom meetings that is handy in terms of not having to travel, leave the house, all of that. But I also really do appreciate meeting in person and being able to have those just more casual conversations and check-ins with people.
Yeah,
I think there's a benefit to meeting together as a group and not on Zoom.
Yeah, I think that sums it up for me. And we think about it in a few weeks, or when things are warming up, it'll be a lot easier.
And then we could have windows open as well. I also feel that we would need to have a caveat in there. I mean, at some point it might not be a choice, but to have a caveat in there about, you know, if for some reason we all of a sudden had a huge spike again, having the option to go back to Zoom, but the state may not allow that as well if they hold firm to that July 15th.
Yeah, and it sort of raises another point for me, which is that it was all predicated on declaring a state of emergency was what allowed these Zoom meetings to take place. And Wendell did declare a state of emergency. We did. Mm-hmm. Do you remember?
Way back when?
I think we did at the very beginning. We declared a state of emergency, and it might
that might have been before I was on.
Yeah, it was.
I have only ever known Zoom meetings, except for our very short stint of in person.
So you know, it might be worth looking into if we've ever relaxed that state of emergency.
I think we did. I think when we made it so that it would end either on a certain date or when the state ended theirs, something like that.
Right. Okay. Good. All right. Thanks. That's all I needed to know on that. Glenn?
Yeah, I can check with Barbara and maybe ask her to come to the next meeting. And want to make a decision on this? Okay.
Good.
The next item is project coordinator / manager.
I think that's Doug. I think you're muted, Doug.
Well, I guess it's sort of me. I guess have you looked at, have you read Phil's proposals and the job description we kind of did mutually and the list of projects and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how familiar people are with where we are.
I read it. It might have been a while ago, but I've talked with Phil, so I think I have a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I did just send an update. I realized today that we hadn't circulated it recently, so I did send an update to the project description, which is only a couple of weeks old. That's just having had conversation with Doug and Carolyn and sort of tossed around how we would describe the position. So that's out there.
So where I would start is that I can definitely say that the Finance Committee and others I've talked to, of course, support the idea of Phil getting some monetary compensation for all the work he does. Like what we go through in a lot of other things, as Carolyn would put it, and I can speak for her here a little bit, is that it's important to separate out the person and what they're doing right now from the position and what it is and whether it's sustainable or not over time. And so the first one, Phil and I were talking about it, we realized, yeah, we need to do something about this. And what I had described at that point was a stipend that was less than what Phil is asking for now. And what I was trying to do, I get to put this diplomatically for the public, I suppose, is that to design something that we could put in our budget this year without having to go through a lot of bureaucratic issues and have it be acceptable and not raise a lot of controversy or inequity between that position and many others. So if that's one way to go, but Phil will have to speak to that for himself. It doesn't appear that he wants to do that. I don't blame him. I mean, that's up to him. Stipended positions are not intended to be positions that pay a person for everything they do. They are stipends. they're tokens, but more than a token. So that's one like I receive now as the finance coordinator is not nearly the compensation that the job would require if it were to be made into a formal thing, which is a formal thing, but if it was intended to be something that would compensate a person commensurate with what they're doing. A lot of our jobs are like that. The assessors, for a long time, the tax collector and the treasurer, though we've moved those more to a realm of trying to get some equity there. The Selectboard, absolutely, beyond a doubt. So I thought that Phil might be willing to do it in that capacity, and he still has that opportunity, I think. But if we are to take it to more of the range that Phil is asking for, which is not unreasonable, for sure, it needs to be done in such a way that, first of all, it is in the long run becomes associated with the amount of work in a particular year. Like as in an appropriation request, because we know we have these 3 or 4 projects and we think it's going to cost so much to project coordinate those projects. And another year there might be 8. And the complexity of the projects, all these things would have to be built into it. It would take planning for the appropriation for that particular year. And in that way, they may or may not be associated with a particular person who would do it. It could be divided among many. So it opens up a door to many options. Like for example, we could hypothetically, I don't know if we'll do this, but hypothetically, We could increase the stipends for all of the road commissioners to substantially more, like say $2,500 a year. They only get $6 right now, and expect when we vote for them that they are all going to participate in this process for the highway part. And then we would have to say, well, this roof job is happening, and there's this police station job that's happening, and these are construction projects that require a different kind of overseeing, and those will have to either put the bid for the project management, or we will have a person who is in a position where they would be getting paid hourly, and we would make an appropriation request appropriate for them to do it for that year. So it becomes complicated. It's one thing I don't think that it can be is like the building inspector. I don't think it can be, it's going to be $9,000 or $10,000 a year, period. Because there's some years where we hardly do anything. You know, I mean, just routine road projects. Other years, like this is crazy with the police station. And I know Phil has given way, way beyond what anybody would do there. And I actually did a little calculation if he was paid, he said he had 60 to 80 hours in it. So it would be like $1,600 that should have been part of the, you know, the cost of the job. You know, and we're probably at the budget now anyway, and there's nothing we can do in arrears. But in the future, we're gonna have to think like that. So there's a lot of issues of how to organize the position with Phil doing it that come into legal and ethical issues around the tiny town exemptions and all of that. And I'm pretty sure that he and Carolyn are talking about this. Those aren't necessarily roadblocks. They're just things that we have to adjust. But what I think firmly has to happen is that regardless of how we fund this year, part of the thing for this year is it has to be a one-year thing with the understanding that what we are going to do over the course of that year is try to design the job in a practical way so that it can be sustainable over time. And that may not look the same way in future years. So that's what I have to say about that right now.
Well, thank you, Doug, for that comprehensive explanation. That's great. Phil?
Yeah, that was very comprehensive, Doug. Thanks. I know you're giving it a lot of thought, and I feel a lot of support from you, the whole FinCom, and other folks too. So it is complex. It changes every year. I can talk about my experience with what I've been doing since I've been on the road commission, and that's different than probably what we're going to come up with is, as Doug suggests, in a year of discussing this and coming up to some understanding of what the job really entails. But for me, there's two things that are pretty relevant. And one is that I'm the only road commissioner that has the time and has the experience and has the understanding of some of these issues. Grant writing, road construction, procurement, all the things that go with the different projects. So for the road commission, and again, it's nothing against them. They come and they do their meetings, but I have, since the day one, since we started on the Wendell Depot project, I've been doing huge and just it's not feasible to share this role that we're talking about with three people that come from different backgrounds and have different time availability, different commitment to specific projects. So that's just one thing that I'm thinking of as Doug was talking. I guess I'll back up, Doug, also just for you. I'm not absolutely fixed on a number. What I'm fixed on is the fact that I'm in retirement and I'm missing my retirement in a significant way. So that's probably my driving situation right now. And I'm looking at a period in the next 2 years where I'm committed to changing that. And I'm committing to changing it immediately if I can make some adjustments that don't cost me my income. So one of the things Doug and I have talked about, for instance, is blending my building inspector role somehow. I don't see the two as combined for the town. I don't see that as necessarily a solution for us. But I would like to say that I'm making enough so that I can give up maybe one of my other towns, or give up being the building inspector in Wendell, or something along those lines, because I actually enjoy the project coordination more than I do with building inspecting these days. I feel like I fit right into it. It's a comfortable position for me. But there are a lot of complexities, and I appreciate that. And I'm not demanding. I'm I'm not going after anything in particular. I'm just sort of addressing my own health, I guess, at this point. And that's where I'm coming from. So how we work this through, I don't know. It'd be nice to see a stipend immediately. I don't expect the government works that way. I don't think we can work that way. And so that's off the table as far as I'm concerned. But I'm thinking that we could come to some understanding of where this is going and what it might be worth to the town. And again, I started thinking about this in terms of my situation, in terms of my needs and my, like I say, my health generally, but in terms of the town, the sustainability of this position, I think it's immeasurable. I think all the opportunities are out there, having someone committed to pursuing, working, prioritizing, going after these projects. It's hard to say what that value is. So that's a goal, have the town accept that that's an important position for the town. So we're just starting the conversation. I think Carolyn had a good idea that she thought it should be like the plumbing inspector, for instance. They have an account where when money comes in, it goes into that account and he gets paid out of that account. If we design projects so that they had a project coordinator, project management line item, it would go into that account. And then those details are the things that need to be worked out and looked at. And those would change over time because they'd be tied directly to the projects. If, for instance, with the police station, and Doug's mentioning the police station as being, overwhelming, and it's not. It's all the projects are taking time. All this business with the Mormon Hollow project and the procurement and the DOT regulations and the paperwork. It's a different field these days. They've seemed to have upgraded all their paperwork requirements and all their reporting requirements while they were locked in their offices or their bedrooms or their offices during COVID. They've come out with new things just this year that are taking a lot more time to deal with. So I could go on. I don't know where the board wants to go with this at this point. I did check with the office of it's not the district attorney's office, but the let me get my glasses on a second here. It's with regards to having multiple roles in the town. When I did take on the position for the project manager for the police station, I did file a paper, and I got this paper through the I can't think of the name of the office, but it's
the Ethics Commission or something, isn't it?
Ethics Commission. That's it exactly.
Yeah.
I checked with the Ethics Commission, and I did get documents from them, and I did file it with the town clerk. So this position's actually already been run through the mill with the Ethics Commission. Although at that point it was not a paid position, so that's an adjustment. So those folks watch over these things, and they advise very well. So I'm open for questions. I don't know where you want to go today or how we want to.
Well, I think the first place we want to go, Phil, is to thank you for all the work that you've done on the police station and the highway department and all these other things for the last while. It's great. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Phil.
The stuff on the police station is fabulous. It's turning into a great little project, and you've done a really good job of holding it together.
Hey, we actually got the sheetrock delivered this week. That was a major accomplishment. Getting a sheetrocker that was committing to the job. But yes, and thank you. I appreciate the kind words. But
no, well, I think that's really important, and I think actually the issues that are being raised here are really good, and I think there is a way through it. It's just going to take some thinking and talking. It's not simple because we really need, like Doug says, to make a clear line between what you're doing as a person and a role that we want to create for the future that may be held by some other person. So
absolutely.
Those are two completely different things there. And I think Carolyn made a good suggestion about having a fund that could be paid to you doing work out of projects that are making money or that are producing money somehow or are appropriated money from the town. That's a good idea. That's one good idea. But let's hear what the rest of the board thinks. I think that there's a way to meet Doug's priorities and yours. It's just not too far apart. But let's hear what Gillian and Lori think about it.
Lori, I think you had your hand up.
I have some thoughts. One thought I just had was this position could be similar to the facilities engineer, to Jim's position. And I wondered if it could be modeled after that. And maybe, and this is a slightly different, but maybe have that type of position just for the highway department, if that seems like there's enough need there. And maybe something else, that might be too much to wrap my head around right now. But the other thought, I just wanted to, maybe two thoughts. I have been working on this MVP grant, and part of it is all of the work that goes into it, you can put into this grant. So I've already put that there's going to be project manager hours, there's going to be town coordinator hours, there's going to be facility engineer hours, and my own hours. You know, I'm trying to put it all in and see really how much it's going to take. And we can apply for up to $10,000 to cover those hours. And any hours that aren't covered can be considered our match, our in-kind or our matching funds, which we've got to cover.
Yeah.
So grants definitely can, you know, cover a lot of this. And I was curious to ask Carolyn is if you had some kind of a, you know, like a pot of money that you would put money into, how would it work with grants? Would that be an easy thing to incorporate? Because I feel like grants have a lot of reporting requirements that might complicate it.
I think it could fit in.
Oh, sorry. I'm not fully aware of how grants function. My thought process on this and what I had suggested to Doug and Phil was that this position be dealt with through a revolving fund. And so the funds that would go into this revolving fund to pay the project manager for any given project would become part of the budget for that project. So if it's something that's being reimbursed or a grant from the state or wherever, that would be a line item in that budget that gets presented and, you know, theoretically approved by the state. And so then when we get those funds, that $1,000 for the project manager goes into the revolving fund. That's how he gets paid. If it were, say, a town funded project that is an article on town meeting, and again, $50,000 for something that the highway is doing, that $50,000 figure came from a budget that's proposed for whatever that project is. And again, it'd be a line item that has a value for the project manager. If that gets approved, then that amount again goes into the revolving fund. So that was my thinking on the way to keep pace with the actual need of the project manager position, rather than trying to guess that in FY23 we're going to need, you know, $6,000 because we think we have these projects are going to be going on and that are going to require X number of hours. I just think that's more of a moving target.
Right. Thanks, Carolyn. Gillian?
I like the idea that Carolyn is talking about, in part because if the person who is doing the job changes, or if, say, if it's Phil, and Phil has a number of tasks already that is keeping him pretty busy, and there's somebody else that we designate as the project manager, it doesn't tie it to a person or a job. That it might be somebody else. I also hear Phil saying that there's some things he'd like to take off his plate and maybe stay busy with some of the other tasks. So I'm wondering if we should have a conversation about that and sort of move ahead and really having a discussion about that piece as a separate piece. And also for us all to be careful about, Phil was wonderful to jump in and volunteer to do the piece. I know the the police station job isn't the only thing. I think a lot of things came together this year with the rats, the police station, the bridge, the like this, that, and the other thing, the storm damage. But we all have to be careful about our volunteers, and that maybe we need to step in when somebody says that they'll, oh, you know, at the beginning it was, I like doing this task. And I think we need to step in and say, you know what, we need to set that up as that's a job. And we need to figure out how to compensate somebody for that job, because it does end up being a lot of work. And there end up being requirements that we need to have them follow through on. And part of that is getting paid to do that. That's my opinion. But I do like the idea of tying it to grants and other funding too. Maybe we have a baseline stipend for some of those projects, but at the same time, that gets piecemealed out as those projects happen. But then we use grant funding for those special projects that come along.
Doug?
So I love the idea of the revolving fund, except my reading, what I read in the material that Carolyn researched and sent to me about that revolving fund, I'm not sure the town can actually put money in unless it comes from some outside source or fees or something. If the town can, I think it's great. It would be perfect. If the town cannot, then it limits it to things that are, in fact, outside payments. Like that state project for the police station, it would have been easy. But for if the town's going to pay for the town barn, and I mean, that's a question to ask DOR, I suppose. Hey, we're doing this town barn. Can we put money in a revolving fund for a project manager? And if they say yes, we're golden. And as to Lori's suggestion about the facilities, the engineer, that was my first thought. And I thought, wait, let's just make it parallel to that. And it wouldn't have to be for the highway department. It could be just town project coordinator. And then that way the barn, town barn, or the police, any of it would fit into it. The problem there is, as you know, what the FinCom does, and when we get in trouble or make a lot of complaints about things, is when there's differences in the way that people are treated in that sense. And the town engineer gets something a little under $7,000 a year, and the Concom agent is budgeted for about $7,000 a year, and the Board of Health agent is in that range. And I doubt that the FinCom is going to feel that it's okay to have one that's outside of that range. That's where the problem lies. It's kind of like, as you know, with the assessors, it was fine, but they paid themselves 20% more than everybody else, and then people complain. It creates resentment. And then if you make it more, it also stops looking like a stipend. It starts looking like a salary, and they're two different things. So I think it starts us running into a problem. So I don't know, one suggestion I have is if Phil's going to come and meet with the Finance Committee on Saturday, and I mean, maybe we can come to some agreement about how to do it for this year. And then I would have questions about if a person was getting a stipend to do a certain position, but there was a project that was beyond what would be expected for that, could they be paid beyond that? And that gets, I mean, it gets tricky. It's kind of like the working assessor position that got created. And, you know, so one thing we're concerned about is precedents and starting strange precedents that kind of spread throughout. And it's nothing on Phil. I mean, I know it's not, but Phil probably deserves much more than $9,000, but it's not we owe him already for last year. But, you know, it becomes that's why I'm thinking that this is an opportunity to do something for a year and really look at how to do it in the future.
Do you think, would it make any sense to have the stipend position and then have a revolving account on top of that? And that is only taking in grant funds, or whereas Now you have, wow, an extra project because we got a grant. We can pay the facilities person more or bring some third party in to do that project management and pay them from the revolving fund.
Lori, it sounds like you're talking.
Sorry.
Sounds like, I'm sorry. It sounds like you were saying have a stipend, and then that revolving fund could be supplemented by income from grant projects, so it wouldn't actually end up coming out of the town.
Right.
Yeah. So that could certainly save the towns on the town's end, and that's probably a likely scenario that projects come along that would have management fees attached to them.
That's sort of what I was thinking. That same line of having a smaller stipended amount that was sort of piecemealed out. The stipends were piecemealed out for projects based on projects, and then but could be also supplemented with a revolving fund for other projects if there's grant funding.
The question is if that's legal.
Well, I can contact the DOR. I'll try to get a hold of someone tomorrow so that I can get a response to at least the finance committee for Saturday as to what are if this type of position is eligible for a revolving fund number one, and then number two, if it can be multiple fund sources, both town tax generated or grants.
Mm-hmm. Can I just ask a clarifying question? So if we had a line that was project coordination and it was paid out in stipends based on projects, are you saying that might be an issue?
The question gets to be, oh, go ahead, Carolyn.
I was going to say, I think the issue has, correct me if I misunderstood, Doug, but I think the issue is if it's a project that is something voted on, that the town votes to pay for and do a project, that can the town put funds into a revolving fund to pay this project manager position?
Right.
And as opposed to a grant award that would have the project manager as a line item, and when those funds are approved, they're put into the revolving fund to pay for the project manager position. It's the source of the revenue, which is the question.
There's also a question of the way that it's paid, because if let's say Phil does there's a job that that the barn roof, and the town has a line for project management, and we decide we're going to pay out so much for project management. Well, Phil either has to be an employee with a position that's at a particular hourly rate for the year. It doesn't matter if the appropriation is enough or not, because we could always supplement that. But it has to be within an appropriation, and he has to be an employee, or he has to be a contractor. So he doesn't, so it's sort of, he could be one or he can be the other. And if he contracts, if he becomes a contractor, that makes his other positions, my understanding, is very complicated, because that's a whole different realm with the state guidelines.
You can't be both.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if this works in town government. In schools, teachers are often paid their contracted amount for the year. And then if there's additional work over the summer, there may be a stipend. There's an agreed upon in the contract stipended rate that is paid out for those special projects outside of your contract, but it's an agreed upon rate in contracts. And I'm wondering if something like that would work in this situation where it would be an agreed upon rate.
They're paid as employees, so it's sort of like, it's a way to do it without, they're getting it as W-2 income, basically. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe. That's like being hourly, but not necessarily hourly. And agreed upon an agreed upon amount of money for a particular thing, but it's as an employee, W-2, not contractor. Maybe. That's another question, Carolyn.
Well, I think Carolyn's going to do some research on this, and I think FinCom is meeting with Phil soon.
Yeah.
I think really all the great ideas that are suggested here outline a plan, really. You guys have just done it. Outlined a plan, a possible plan for doing this, maybe with the two-step thing with a stipend and additional. And hopefully the FinCom and Phil can refine that and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, from my end, I think that sounds fine. And then I appreciate all the thought, a lot of good ideas on how to manage this. Yeah. So we can take it up Saturday. I will with the FinCom, and we'll talk again.
Yeah, I think really we need to come up, Doug, with a plan for just this year first, right?
Exactly. That's my thinking.
And
yeah.
Hopefully start working on a prototype for the following years.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking FY23 or FY22?
Oh, 23.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do nothing with the rest of the year.
Right. I just wanted to make clear.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Doug, and thanks, Phil. I hope that gets us somewhere.
Okay, I thank you all as well.
Phil, I was poring over the budget last night when I was signing warrants, and I did notice the Highway Commission has not been paid out for the stipends for that.
I don't know if do we get it at the end of the year?
Yeah,
you do it at the end of the year.
That's one that gets paid out at the end of the fiscal year.
Gotcha. All these things I'm learning.
Lots of details.
It's not quite big enough for it to be a monthly payout.
Oh, because it's small.
Quarterly.
Oh.
Okay, we all set with this agenda item? I think so. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Good day.
Next was the library director position, and Phyllis had hoped to join us. I'm not sure why she's not here. I sent an email. So if someone has a phone number for her, I'd be happy to call her.
You want me to call her?
Was this a goodbye?
What's that?
What?
Was this just a goodbye?
Anna's leaving, and they have a plan.
Oh, right. The library has a plan.
Yeah.
And needed us to approve an emergency order to allow them to hire an interim director.
Yeah. She did want to be here for the conversation, so we could move that to later and see if she arrives.
Yeah, push it off. So.
I have a question. So what? I talked with they came, Phyllis, and I think Mara was there too. Carolyn, I don't know if we would need to appoint the interim person, but the budget to pay that interim person is going to come from the library director line. There's just one payroll line for the library. From our perspective, there's no need to do something different to let them hire an interim person other than appointing that person.
All right, good.
The reason that I had recommended to Phyllis that she bring it to the select board for their approval of hiring this interim is because what can I say? According to the town's hiring policy, it has to be posted. It has to be, all that. And so if it's an emergency hire for a short period of time, a couple of months, whatever, it can be done. The select board just has to approve them doing it. So it's not anything to do with the funding source or anything like that. It's merely to sort of honor our hiring policy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So maybe we can push this to later in the meeting so we have the exact language of this emergency declaration. See if anybody from the library shows up.
You did send us something.
Yeah,
I mean, I could read it, but we can wait. I think it's fine to wait. Did you try calling her, Gillian?
Glenn is calling her right now.
Okay, good. Okay.
I thought that you had FinCom recommendations on there, and I probably won't be at the next two select board meetings. There's a couple of things I thought you might want to be aware of that the FinCom is doing. One is that the fire chief, it turns out after we went around and around about this, we realized that this is the last fiscal year that Joe will be in our employ.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
because he has to end on his birthday. This whole state retirement thing. It's just disgusting. Anyway, he has to leave on his birthday. His birthday's in October, so he'll only be here for 1 quarter at the most.
Wow.
In FY24. So the FinCom had bounced around what the salary was going to be for this year, and we were saying, oh, well, it is last year. We want to give him a little more money because we realized in the past we couldn't do that afterwards. And so we decided to put in the budget a higher rate for him for the fiscal year. It could be shocking to see, I mean, because it's a big bump, but I'm hoping that when we explain that to people, they'll understand. So like he was paid by Wendell something in the neighborhood of 27,000 and change last year, and we're recommending a salary of 30,000 for FY23 as his last year, and so you don't want to be caught surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any feedback about that, we'd be happy to hear it, of course.
Sounds good.
I just asked, we had talked about this, we had one of the public safety meetings, and I thought he said that he could maybe extend his time if he chose and did something with the state. Is that true? I mean, I don't know if he's already decided that.
And my
that's
discussion
not
of his, he can extend within a certain number of hours or a certain amount of pay. He can't extend as the total job. If he wanted to pick one town or the other, he could probably do enough to kind of guide them through it within those guidelines. But I don't know what he wants to do there. But we've talked about this extensively, and it's this retirement thing that, I mean, some of you might be familiar with. When you retire with the state retirement, you can only work so many hours or make so much money, and then you get penalized. So it's something like maybe 18 hours a week or something. I think we talked about that when someone who applied for the coordinator job who was in that circumstance and couldn't do enough hours for the job to work. So that's where that is as far as I know. He could be a consultant, certainly.
Okay.
Isn't there a cooling off period or something where you have to wait a year before you can hire someone as a consultant after they've?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know anything about that. The other things that we discussed that you would probably be interested in was we accepted the assessor's proposal to have $5,000 in their budget for a consultant. The main reason we did that was because Anna did such a good job of explaining the terms and the reasons why they might need it. So it no longer was amorphous. So she did a good job of that. So we thought we could do it that way, and we'll just put it in their expense budget as they requested. And we also accepted the library director's proposal of making the benchmark of the position, you might say, depending on what happens, who they get, how much experience or whatever, as $23.50 an hour for 32 hours, whatever that comes to. 37 and something. And so that's the main big things for the time being. Oh, we also have decided that Carolyn will be paid what she requested, and at least for this year, Glenn won't be picking up a human resource component. I don't know if you knew about that idea. And we got the money for the
What was the last part?
Oh, there was some talk of maybe that Carolyn had offered to forego the increase she had requested for her salary if Glenn was willing to pick up the human resource work component of her job. And Glenn and I talked about it, and it seems that he's still in the midst of learning what to do and figuring everything out. And it's very complicated, and I can relate.
Sure.
So that's the thing. One other thing that we have discussed that has come up before, and I'm glad Carolyn's here, is as Carolyn and Penny approach their middle years, we might say, and is it time to approach the idea of making those positions appointed as opposed to elected once again?
Mm. Yeah.
What do you think about that, Carolyn?
I'm as opposed now as I was 28, 30 years ago when I took this job. So
okay.
I am deeply committed to the fact that the treasurer and the collector should be elected positions. I think we keep seeing the positions that have become appointed and have gone out of town, and the lack of, I don't know if control's the right word, but the level of oversight that the town seems to be able to have on those positions as far as affecting any change when there's a problem.
Yeah.
Has been a huge problem. And granted, the tax collector and the treasurer, we can do a lot of damage being elected if we don't do our job, but at least you're only stuck with us for a few years and then you could get rid of us. So anyway, the bottom line is I am opposed. So you guys can do, I fully expected that we would go this way as far as them becoming appointed, but hopefully not in my time.
Well, Carolyn, I just want to say that you present a very compelling argument. And although a lot of towns, there's a big shift towards going towards appointed all across the state, but I fully support your view and thank you for expressing it.
And the Finance Committee is dreadfully afraid.
Dreadfully afraid of
a person who is not really qualified or up to understanding the huge complexity that has come up in both of those positions, getting elected and not being able to do the job and putting our finances in total chaos, whether they do it intentionally or not. So I don't know, one thing I'd want to explore is what is the terms for recall elections and what do you have to do to make that happen? How long does it take?
No idea.
We're gonna have to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have
oh, go ahead.
Normally I would look in the charter, but I've learned we don't really have a charter to look at, right?
State law.
You can recall a tax collector, you can't recall a treasurer.
Really? At all?
I looked into this several years ago for certain reasons. And the laws may have changed in that time. I'm happy to look it up again, but it is addressed in both the treasurer's and the tax collector's manual. And I think it's easy enough to find in the Mass General laws. So I will submit something at some point with that information.
It would be good for us to know if we try to avoid shifting it over, that would be great if it would work. And if it doesn't, we kind of need to know what we're up against in that potential situation, because it could easily happen.
I guess where I am concerned too is that, we have some big positions open right now that we haven't been able to fill or find people to take those positions, and that are elected positions. And I am concerned about we need people. We need good people who want to be involved. And but we can talk about that more when we get to that area. That item.
Are we allowed to ask what the time frame is exactly when we might expect to have to really think about this? Look, there's Phyllis.
Yes, I'm here. I did drive to the town office.
Oh, so. Phyllis, I'm so sorry.
Oh no. Oh,
nobody was there.
Oh,
so anyway, it's all fine. It was a pretty night out there.
Sorry about that, Phyllis, but glad you made it. And
you got an answer for us?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't want to interrupt Phyllis.
No, I understand.
Well, I don't think Penny has any near-term plans when it comes to retiring, and my plans are nowhere near close. Hopefully I'm going to make it through a few more election cycles.
Good.
So,
nice.
All right.
I like this job.
Good.
That's good. Glad to hear it. Okay, well, thank you, Carolyn, very much. And maybe we can move on to Phyllis's agenda item since she's here now.
Great.
Phyllis, I think that the initial request that we approve an emergency permission to hire someone, but there's been some discussion tonight that maybe it's not even necessary. What's your feeling now?
I can respond to that. We have learned since from the MBLC, the Mass Board of Libraries, that we can appoint, if we've understood correctly, we can appoint an interim person without going through the hiring process. So, but there is paperwork that has to be filled out for the MBLC. So in a sense, I think it is kind of a moot point, but I would appreciate it to get your kind of okay so that we can get the paperwork in properly and make sure it all goes smoothly. So if you're willing to still think about this or approve this for now, we would appreciate that, just so we're completely covered. Because we would rather not, we've done a lot of investigating and talking with our assistant librarian now, Miriam Warner, and with other people in town, and with our subs for the library, our normal subs, as well as with the interim librarian for New Salem, who had thought that if that didn't work, that she might be available, because New Salem has been in the process of hiring, but they did not hire their two candidates they had as finalists. They both withdrew at the last minute, I guess.
Oh.
And we are aware that Irving is still also looking for, and has been for some time, for a library director. So apparently things are kind of up in the air right now for a library director. So there's lots of transitioning, and so we would like to have a decent amount of time to explore and really do our hiring process correctly. So that said, but you're right, we probably don't really need this, but even if you just did it temporarily, then we'd be covered.
Sure.
If we don't get all the paperwork that we need for MBLC. Oh, just one more thing, Gillian, I'll say, the MBLC, we do need to appoint an interim director officially, because otherwise we'll lose our funding with them. So.
Okay.
And that's a select board appointment.
No,
Not the
it, I
trustees.
mean, it would be us appointing, but then filling in this extra paperwork from MBLC. As
So
I
you're-
understand it, you know, that's what, yeah.
So you're just looking for like a motion from us to approve the appointment of Miriam Warner for a 6-month period while you conduct a search for a new director.
Exactly. But in a sense, apparently we can do that through MBLC also, but this covers us. If
Right.
you will do that, we'll be sighing with relief.
So I make a motion that we support the Board of Trustees for the Wendell Free Library to appoint Miriam Warner in the position of the interim library director for a 6-month period starting May 6th.
Yeah.
While they look for.
While they look for a search for a new director.
Right. Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we can vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I
So-
want to vote.
You don't need to right now, Phyllis.
I'm not allowed to.
A unanimous vote approving your process.
Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. So
Well, thank you for all you're doing. Good luck.
That's a question.
Sure.
So Phyllis, we know we've talked about the sharing possibility and how that could be a really great thing for a couple different reasons. Dart, is there any possibility that the two people who turned down, who both refused the job, might have accepted it if the job was shared with another town and was full time?
I have no way of knowing that, Doug, but that's an interesting question. Very possibly. I know one other person did, I know for sure accept a different position, but that's all.
Huh.
It wasn't really public knowledge. I just kind of threw the
yeah.
grapevine.
Mm-hmm.
So
tell me again, which town was that, Phyllis? I'm sorry.
That was New Salem.
New Salem town.
But I know Irving too has been having a horrible time.
Yeah. Irving has already gone through one interview process at least once or twice. Nice. They've done it, and they haven't gotten an applicant that they felt worthy, I guess.
Or they've withdrawn.
Or they withdrawn, yeah.
Is the Irving job full time?
I don't think so.
Huh. So there's a discussion to be had, I guess, huh? And I know you're working on that, so.
Right.
The FinCom strongly supports that. I mean, for all the reasons we talked about it, it might be easier to get a qualified applicant. It also could stretch out the difference between an operations manager and the library director. And the library director doesn't have to be an events manager and could have that. And
exactly.
Could be better, yeah.
So having a little more time will enable us to explore some of these other possibilities with other local libraries as well. So
great. Well, thank you very much, Phyllis, for doing all that.
Thank you.
So, sorry, can I confirm again? So does the select board need to officially appoint Miriam, or is that something totally within the library that's done separate?
Well, I asked you to vote to appoint it so that we'd be covered until we get the official library approval. So, because I don't know how long that takes. We
don't need an appointment slip or that kind of thing. And swearing in and all that.
Well, what you're doing is, it's, Carolyn suggested I do it this way.
Okay.
So I used her wording, and you're appointing an emergency director, basically. So I don't know if it's a matter of language, but the head of a department, according to the personnel policy, can do that for only up to 2 weeks. And what I'm asking for you to do is kind of allow us to project up to 6 months so that we can really do the hiring process or research these other possibilities.
Okay.
So that's what you're voting on.
Right. My recommendation was solely based on our personnel policy. And I don't know anything about the MLC and any like discrepancies between the two. They may totally supersede the town's personnel policy and it's not even an issue. But it seems to me, like Phyllis said, it doesn't hurt, just vote for both and then everything's covered. I just always worry about somebody complaining. And if we've taken all precautionary steps, then we can appease their complaint.
Right. I think we've taken the precautionary steps.
I think you have, and we greatly appreciate it. So
thank you, Phyllis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Phyllis.
So I guess I'll probably leave, but I'm curious, maybe I'll stay a little while.
You're welcome to stay. Absolutely.
So it's fascinating what we do here.
It often has been when I have come. So.
It has been. It's always pretty fun, really. All right, Glenn, I guess it's over to you.
The next item is American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, state and local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF, category selection and project designation. And this relates to we're calling it the ARPA funds, but we might need to get more specific because there's going to be a lot of ARPA coming through the town, different streams and tranches and exciting levels and layers of ARPA. The state and local fiscal recovery funds is that chunk of money that they're just kind of depositing in our accounts, amounts to $262,440.19. And the select board discussed this and it seemed like there was general agreement, but I think it's maybe time for a formal vote to choose which category or categories of that you want to use those funds for. And the one that's kind of highly recommended, and I think Doug and I are both in agreement, is the replace public sector revenue loss category, which is essentially like a standard deduction almost that allows you to use all those funds for the provision of government services. Just a very wide open designation. There are some very small limitations, such as like not being able to pay pension funds out of the money. But for the most part, if you were gonna spend the money on something related to running Wendell, you could spend this money on that. There are only two expenses that have been made so far on this. One is a external drive for my computer, and then the laptop and the monitor and the docking station. So those purchases. So I was at thanks very much for supporting my attendance at the MMA conference on Saturday, and there was a whole presentation on the ARPA funds. And they had a woman from Holyoke there who deals with federal funds a lot, and certainly is getting a lot more funds than Wendell is, and will be using more in different categories in all likelihood, but still was talking about the importance of documentation of everything that we do, and not just keeping it in email, but printing out all the emails. Like they might be saying now it's all very loose, but they might come back later and want all kinds of documentation. So one thing I wanted to get kind of on the record was a vote from you about selecting the replace public sector revenue loss category for the full amount of the funds. And then after that, I also, when I went in to look, because our first report on this funding is due at the end of April. They want to have both the category, but then they also want a project name for how we're using the funds. So I guess first would be talking about the category, and then we can kind of get into the project, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. And just to start things off, I'll move that the town put all the money into the revenue loss category as a motion, and we can start from there.
I can second.
So we have a motion and a second, and let's have some discussion about that. It sounds good to me. How do you folks feel about it? It sounds like sort of a stabilization fund in a way that we can put this money into and then figure out what to do with it.
So the things you've already spent it on, Glenn, would you somehow backtrack on that? Or is that being excluded from this motion?
No, I think that, I mean, essentially, the government essentially put a bunch of money in your accounts and then explain to you all the categories that it could be spent on later. So I think it was assumed that you would start spending. So I think that we can, assign, assume that that spending is part of this revenue loss.
Oh, right. Okay. That's fine. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Doug?
As Glenn and I have talked about this extensively, so the project that I identified around buying the computers for the library, and now I've expanded that to more upgrades for some of the town departments, it rolls into this. So, but my sense is it's important to continue to have documentation about the rationale for it, as well as what it's spent on. But we don't have to have it as a separate project in this mode. They don't think of it that way. But part of the documentation would include that process.
Yeah.
At the training, she talked about really encouraging towns to think about like writing up, like, what is your plan for use of these funds? And she even talked about she's having both, because the money can also be given out to nonprofits or sometimes even companies. Right. So having an application process where it's like the select board has decided that they've chosen this designation and this is how they want to use the funds, and even departments within Holyoke were applying to her for use of these funds. So I think we've noticed, like, since these funds came in, there have been a lot of conversations like, oh, we could use the ARPA funds for that. We could use it for that. We could use it for that. We don't yet have a plan.
Right.
And so
the finance committee does.
The finance committee has a plan. The select board, I guess, will be the final deciders.
Of course. Well, actually, maybe not, but the finance committee has a plan that, and it's pretty clear to us that the major equipment that we need, that taxpayers would have to pay for in the next several years, there is no choice about that. That there is no other source of funding for other than taxpayer revenue. No other reserve funds that we have for them that come from other sources like the rehab loan returns. There's no other source for it, and that's basically a police car, a fire truck, and a tractor.
What about the landfill?
That's already earmarked from the state ARPA funds, separate thing. Different money.
What about technology?
It's small enough number that it wouldn't impact that, so that's included.
So does that mean that, can we have more than one project, like a technology project and a emergency equipment project?
It's all one, as Glenn was describing.
Yeah, you can really organize it however you want. in terms of reporting, I think it would probably be more streamlined if you just had a single project that was designated with, within the reporting system that's just called something like provision of government services. And then whatever process you decide on, and I don't know how that works. Does the finance committee come up with the project and bring it to the select board for approval, or does the select board discuss? And I don't know how you want to manage that part, but it does seem like it'd be a good idea for there to be a decision made about what the plan is. And so it sounds like the finance committee has a plan they want to propose to you. I think that's how it would work, that the finance committee would propose that to you and you would approve, but I don't know.
That's how it works. That's how it works, I think, with these ARPA.
We do, but we also feel that, that we've had some discussion by email about the issue of town meeting vote. We really think that there should be a town meeting vote that about these big ticket items. And they could be one by one, but they wouldn't necessarily have to be money amounts. They would just say the town approves or gives the select board, their blessing to purchase a fire truck, a tanker, or the town, like that. So that unlike the usual thing, $66,000 for a police cruiser, $150 for a used tanker. I don't think we have to do that, but I think I think it would. As I've said, I think it's good. It's good feeling to have the town meeting really be the in on it. Put it that way.
Yeah, the person in Holyoke was also really encouraging people to have public hearings on these funds and how they should be spent. So that's another way to go, because I think if in town meeting, I don't know, that'll be interesting for you to decide, because people are used to going to town meeting and having a chance to vote yes or no on particular items. So I don't know whether you want to just do it as a hearing so it's a little clearer how the decision making is working, because really this is money that the select board will control.
It would be yes or no on a particular item. We, the town of Wendell, give the select board, we authorize the select board to purchase a used fire tanker for with ARPA money. That's a yes or no vote.
Well, I think the idea is to maybe put out a bunch of ideas and have the town people weigh in on what they think is a priority.
Well, you could do that, but I imagine their main priority is going to be reduce the tax rate.
Yeah, but it's no.
But you can do that.
To have an article, and it could be a resolution.
Yes.
Not so much of an article, but a resolution, and it could be a resolution for each one of these items.
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly. Right word.
List, and I can't believe that the town wouldn't vote for each one as they go right down the list, but that would be up to the town.
Because it would be expenses taken off. Right. It would reduce the debt load in terms of,
Exactly. These are, if the only other way we're going to get a police car, a fire truck, and we could probably squeeze a tractor in with the extra stabilization money we have. But basically the fire truck and the police car are going to have to be borrowed money and go into debt exclusion and stuff. And that costs the town taxpayers money every year. And I think that people will be very interested in knowing and very excited that these major capital items we won't be paying for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's true. But actually,
what about, go ahead, Dan.
The motion on the floor that we're considering is
that's different.
To put all the money into the loss of revenue account.
Right.
Is there any further discussion on that?
Can we call it, instead of loss of revenue?
Well, that's their
provision of government services.
Two different things, right, Glenn?
Yeah, so my suggestion is that you first vote on the category, which there are only limited number of defined categories from the federal government on this, and replace public sector revenue loss as one of those categories.
Yeah,
and then next to vote on choosing a project, which would be the provision of government services.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I already moved it, and it was seconded that we put it in that category.
Yeah.
Revenue loss.
That's the motion on the table. Yeah.
That's the motion on the table. So is there any further discussion? Then we can vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's settled. And then we can, we've already had a pretty good discussion about exactly how it's going to be used. And the FinCom has presented this roadmap, which all sounds fine to me. Do you want to discuss that any further, Gillian and Laura? Any thoughts on it?
I was wondering, what about the Swift River water situation?
It's also earmarked money in the state ARPA fund.
Do we know it's going to cover the whole thing? We don't even know how much it's all going to cost.
No, but although the proposal, the engineering proposal that was made will probably fit into 40,000 if it works easily. They're just going to repair the well.
But we don't know yet if that's going to be the fix.
No, that is the fix that's been proposed, and they're pursuing it, but we don't know if it'll work. that's a different question.
Yep.
So what? So with all the things that you've listed, Doug, does that pretty much take the entire amount?
It probably would, but it depends on how much we spend on the tanker, and we know we have to do a car in fiscal 25. I've discussed this with Scott. If we do it for fiscal 24, it takes a year to get them now. You order it, it takes a year to get it. So we could probably do this so that it works out that we make it the payment for it in fiscal 24, which should only be a year ahead. We'll get a little more for the old car. And that way we don't have to dig up the money, which will be substantial. He said they paid about 70,000 for the last one they got.
Yeah.
Another important kind of aspect of these funds, U.S. Congress just tried to put another coronavirus bill through to try to address the pandemic. And the minority party attempted to do a clawback. In other words, to take these funds back because they haven't been spent. Well, we know why they haven't been spent. They didn't give us the guidance, it takes time, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the possibility is that if the minority party becomes the majority party, they'll try to claw back these funds. So, but if they are, all the funds do not have to be spent, but they have to be obligations or contracts in place. So the recommendation would be to have that in place by the end of this year, this calendar year.
Wow.
If possible. That's a lot.
We'd contract for a car, and it won't come for a while anyway. So that'll stretch out the time period of when we need another one. So that's cool. And then Joe's looking for a used truck. He says if we have a budget, he'd be able to find something. And the tractor, that's easy. So probably another thing we'd have to order and it would come. But so if we wanted to do those things, we could have a special town meeting, as long as it's before next January, because they don't, or I don't know, what did they do? When's the new Congress start?
I think they go right in. Well, I don't know much.
Well,
yeah, I think they do go right in.
There's a little bit of a lame duck session, isn't there? No,
because Ossoff was voted in. They were voted in late, but anyway, he was there on January 4th before the transition to the next administration. So January 6th.
that's a month between there and it's almost 2 months between the election and that'd be worth checking out. We have to do it before the new Congress gets sworn in. So there's a little time and there'll be a space for a town meeting to do it. In the meantime, we could kind of get it set up.
So I'll just mention a few other things that had sort of been discussed, sorry, Gillian, that had been thrown out as maybe being ARPA, which was the roof at the highway and sort of paying back the rehab for the town hall painting. So I just want to make sure we're keeping in mind things that we had already talked about and maybe have I don't know if we need a longer discussion or not, and think a little bit harder. I mean, I guess the FinCom has thought, and maybe they have the most information, but it may be a wider discussion to really make sure this is, like, I'm not ready to vote on it tonight.
Oh, no,
to make that
there
decision.
need to be. Right. No, this is not, yeah. This is just letting you know what our thinking is, and that we're actively planning. There's the barn roof is probably a trade-off in any of those items. I mean, you could, that's going to be taxpayer money the same as the police car. So it's take your pick, you know.
There's supposed to be infrastructure grants. When happened to that?
Well, that might be possible. I can tell you the FinCom is dead set against paying back the rehab loan, not because it's not a great idea, but because that's another source that we have for something that if once we pay it back, we no longer have that source to get these big fixed items. So they're not the same thing. You know, one we're already getting that without new taxpayer money. If we do that, then new taxpayer money is going to have to pay for something else.
And maybe that could be part of the roof, because we wanted it to be energy related, right? It's not really paying back the rehab fund. It's sort of, I don't know, taking some ARPA money to go towards, since we took rehab money to paint the town hall, we could take ARPA money to do something energy related, and the roof would count as that. So maybe that's one thing we can talk about.
True. Yep. Yeah, the main principle is something that the town would have to pay taxes to do, and that there's no other resource for. That's the main guideline. So if there's other things that could replace those items, that's fine. Then the taxpayer money.
How about an electric police car?
Hybrid for sure. God already said that's his plan, and we can get grant money for that if we time it properly.
We'd have to look into it pretty quick. Or they say, if you're pretty sure about that, then say, okay, let's do the roof, and we know we can get, you know, other resources to pay for the police car. That'd be fine.
So it sounds like we've got a really good list of potentials here, and we need to have a special town meeting at some point. Probably should maybe be its own meeting.
I think so.
To deal with these things, and maybe sometime in the fall.
Yeah.
Early fall.
Yeah.
And the FinCom can present its revised list in the next month or so, and we'll start really going over it, making a list of warrant articles. Right.
Glenn, were you saying that we need to have a plan before the end of this fiscal year?
No, before the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
I would think ish, you know, I mean, I don't know, Biden, right. If the minority party becomes the majority party, Biden's still in office. I don't know if he's gonna, you know, sign off on clawing back the money, but just to be safe. It's
a hard-headed political tip that could very well happen. I can tell you for sure that I had a solar, what do you call it, credit due for panels I put on my roof when Ronald Reagan was elected, and they took it back. Ouch. They didn't honor it.
I want to strongly put technology on the list too, because we really need to upgrade and get some projects done. So I just want to make sure that that's on the list of tasks to be done. Whether it's with this pot or another pot.
Yeah, that's in this, a lot of that's in this pot already, the part that we're doing. We're expecting an estimate from Entree Computer any day for all these upgrades, and some really good suggestions on how to do our IT work if it can't be regionalized. The one thing that's not in that estimate is electronic stuff to do electronic town meetings. But
is that in conversation with the Collins Center too, with Sean?
No, this is just computers that we know we can buy with ARPA money while we have the opportunity that would be taxed otherwise.
Okay.
But Collins Center, yeah, I mean, we're waiting for recommendations from Collins Center on technology as well. But all these things are pretty much no-brainers, taking these particular computers and upgrading them. But I guess that's another question: is we did, you know, spend on my laptop and, you know, the other things connected to it. do you want to put a pause on other spending from this until you've had a chance to look at the big picture and kind of, you know, confirm a proposal from the finance committee of how you want it spent? Or
I think we should wait until we have a plan.
Are you saying that we shouldn't go forward with the plan that was submitted many months ago to do this?
I'm wondering that too.
You do the computers?
Our two library computers.
No, I'm saying go ahead with those. But
you say go ahead with those. You don't want to do anything else, you mean? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I wasn't.
I think the conversation around technology, like I'm not clear about when you say, oh yeah, we've got that in there. We've got that. I don't know exactly what pieces you're talking about. So I think having that discussion and being clear about, I feel like we already agreed on the library pieces, but there's more to it than that. And I just want to, feels like it is a bigger discussion. In terms
that's fair. That's what we're doing right now is our plan is to submit a payment request for I think we've got up to four library computers, counting the office, and 3 adult public ones, and replacements for several of the office computers, and a discussion to be had with this particular computer company and maybe another one, at least one more, about doing IT support and how to do that. So that and it's actually interesting, you might see the note I said that I've been very surprised to learn that people are not using servers anymore. It's now somewhat obsolete technology.
Wow.
I don't know if we got to actually a motion on the category yet, did we?
Oh, yeah.
We did the
we have a motion on the floor.
We did the category, right?
Category, but not the project.
Not the project, yeah. Is this the technical? You want it to be something like technology?
No, I think just an overall project on
what Gillian said.
Division of Government Services, yeah.
All right,
All
so
in favor?
I don't know if we made the motion.
I think I did make the motion, but I can make it again.
Anna says no.
No.
No?
No, no, I don't think so. So
want me to make the motion? I make a motion.
Please.
Yeah, that we the category we choose is provision of government services. Does that work?
Project. Yeah.
Okay.
Laura, you seconded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. So it carries unanimously. And does that wrap that up, Glenn?
It does, yeah. It sounds like the next step is for the finance committee to kind of put together a fuller proposal of
we will.
Projects and funds, yeah, great.
It'll probably be select from column A or column B.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Next item is senior community center interior painting.
Yeah, I don't have anything on that. Does someone?
I'm not sure how it got on there.
You know, I wonder if that was a carryover from last meeting.
It might be, but there's Katie. Katie wants to talk. You're muted, Katie.
Don't forget, you have to get close to the mic.
Yeah, you have to be in front of the computer.
Okay. We had the Council on Aging and came to the select board a while ago and asked about painting the interior of the senior center. And
we're losing your audio. You really have to get right up to that. Yeah.
The select board had asked us, the Council on Aging wants to paint the interior of the senior center. And we came to the select board who asked us to get a quote, which we did, just an estimate for budgeting purposes, not a a regular quote. And we got an estimate of $1,500 to prepare the surface and paint the senior center interior.
Okay, and do we have an idea of where that money might come from?
Doug might.
There's enough money in the town repair budget to cover that with no problem.
I think so.
We haven't spent very much of that.
No, it's a good thing.
I will move
No
to
problem.
approve that spending by the senior center to paint the interior for $1,500.
Second.
Any discussion? Sounds like a good plan to me. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. So that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And do we now?
You need to get right up to the mic again. I'm
We
so
have to
sorry.
go out now and ask for additional bids or do a formal bid.
1,500.
For $1,500, you do not need you do not need formal bidding, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a couple of other quotes before you go ahead. And I would recommend getting a quote from Bob's Painting, because he just submitted a quote to us for painting the town hall that beat all the other quotes.
Okay. Can you send us what his contact information?
I think you just go online under Bob's Painting. He's local.
So Glenn, when you get that invoice, you put it in the repair budget, not the senior center budget.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll add it to my matrix of that account.
Yeah, you're learning them. By next year you'll know them all.
Phyllis, you have your hand up?
I just have a very quick question. Would mold remediation, what would that come under? And
oh, that comes in
the library.
Yeah.
That'd be the same thing. Town building repairs.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're expecting a major amount for that, I've got to put some extra in the town building repairs for it. I put extra in for the parking lot for the basketball court, and Phil's working on trying to figure out who we can get to do it for how much. But if you think you're going to need that, if you can figure out some way of getting an idea of what it'll cost, you're going to add that to the building repairs account.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
okay, Glenn.
Would you like to know the next topic? Next topic is litter pickup, but I think that's already, no, that's coming up this week.
I think I had brought that up because I'd forgotten to discuss it at the last meeting. Annie Diamond had spoken to me, but they have gone ahead. They talked with the road commission and RATS about having a litter pickup the week of school vacation, April 16th and 19th. So that's coming up this weekend. And they've arranged it and put the word out.
Okay, good.
Did we skip the town hall painting?
We did, and we missed the good neighbors complaint. Oh my goodness.
I don't think we need to talk about the good neighbors complaint because that resolved itself, unless other people think we need to.
No.
Yeah.
But the town hall painting we do need to talk about, I think, and I think we have 3 bids now. I spent a long time with this fellow, Bob, getting his bid in the other day and going over the whole building, and he was able to submit a bid less than anybody else. I was surprised, but he actually has done painting on a lot of houses in Old Deerfield, so he's really accomplished at dealing with all buildings as far as I could tell. He seemed to really know what he was doing. But I think everyone's seen the quotes. And I would move that we approve Bob's quote, being the lowest.
Remind me the amount. Did you already say it? Sorry.
I don't have the exact amount on my
I have it in front of me. It's $12,855.
And that's just for the building, and there was an add-on for the police department, was there?
Yes. Yep. So just for the town hall, 12,855. Part 2, if we chose the police station and the back deck of the town hall, was $3,225.
Yeah, so I would move that we approve both of those. It sounds really reasonable, and we have a town meeting vote approving $20,000 to do this. So that's my motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Can vote on that. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Oh,
Aye.
Anna had her hand up. Did you want it before we voted?
Sorry, could I get the police and back deck number again?
Yes, $3,225.
Thank you.
And I also just want to put on record that we need to make sure to notify Martha Sen.
Very good. And I did talk to Bob very specifically about the neighbor and the property line. We walked around the whole building, and he's understands exactly where the property line is.
So maybe when he sets dates, Glenn, you could just make sure Martha knows.
Sure. Can someone get me Martha's number or email?
I can send that to you Saturday.
I'm sorry, what was that, Anna?
I can send Glenn Martha's contact on Saturday.
Okay.
Anna.
Thanks. Okay, that's town hall painting.
All right. We're up to then, I think, designating the website as posting site.
What a conversation this has brought up.
So just, it was on the warrant, but it wasn't phrased entirely correctly. We did learn that the select board can vote on this. I don't know what process you all want to use, whether you want any type of public hearing on it, or if you want to just vote, if you want to vote tonight, or for me to gather more information, or I don't know how you want to proceed, but my suggestion would be, if you do decide to vote on it, that we leave it some time just to give people time to prepare and know and learn how, how they can go about getting their meetings posted for people who are more comfortable with the hard copy. But the need for it has never felt more great to me than this week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people emailing me their postings, and it would be so nice to be able to post them from wherever versus having to be in Wendell. So.
Well, I guess I'm going to play the role of the old timer on this and say, I think it's good to post the warrant physically at the town office building. I also think it's really great to post it on the web and on the website and have that as an official posting place, so people will know that they can go to the website and they'll see everything that's posted. So yes, it should be an official posting place, but I don't think it should be the only one. I think we should keep the town office as a posting place. And there used to be 5 posting places in town, and I was the constable. I had to drive around to the 5 places in Wendell Depot. So this is, nostalgic.
Yes, of course. And I think I definitely want to continue to maintain the town office's posting place. We do need to select a single posting place to be the official one that's kind of recognized by the state. So we can continue to maintain the other one, but we have to have one that's officially the official one. And I think it would be helpful to people to be able to comply with open meeting law if the official one was the website, because they can email me, they could email Robbie or the website committee, and people could post them very quickly. And if you want to, then if if I'm in the office the next day, I can go and print it up and post it on the bulletin board. So it's in both places.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely see the advantages of that. So why don't we just leave it for now? This is a subject of discussion, and put it maybe in the newsletter or on the website that this is being discussed, and maybe we should have a hearing, but at least put it out there that we're talking about this, and get some feedback.
I felt like I heard, I mean, it was a special town meeting. It wasn't an annual town meeting, but I felt like I heard pretty clearly from many people that they're looking for us to be putting that kind of information on the website.
But that doesn't mean that it needs to be the official website. We can easily put everything on the web without it being the official site. That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that if someone, you know, has a meeting on a Monday and they email me on Thursday and I'm not in the office and back in the office until Monday, it's figuring out how to get them to go find someone who can go and post it at the thing. Otherwise, we could just have it be officially posted on the website, and then you have just a little more time, you know, for someone to get to the town offices and post it on the web, on the board there. But yeah, I think you're right that seeking comment would be useful. Yeah.
I agree with Glenn that I think the website should be the official. I think it's much easier for the majority of people. And it would, yeah, make it definitely not try as hard as we can to continue to post physically. And more people can actually go see the website too, to look at the meetings. So, yeah. And, you know, I think it will definitely be a transition with people who aren't used to doing technology, but we would definitely make it as easy as possible. And I think if we didn't do that, maybe people wouldn't be posting on the website. And I know there's definitely a demand for that if we didn't make it, you know, mandatory.
I have a suggestion or a proposal that that we write up a suggested procedure for posting. And if the proposal is that the website is the official posting place, and that in addition, the paper posting at the town offices should be posted, you know, at least 24 hours before the meeting in hard copy form or something like that. I'm just thinking like, you know, this is the process for posting a meeting, that it's, you know, the official posting place is the website, and then that the paper copy is posted by such and such a date. Well, that's not official. That's our process and procedure for how we'd like to have it happen. And then maybe we'll feel some comfort that it's posted in both places, but we're meeting that open meeting law by making sure that it's posted in our official place, where we can get information to a little quicker.
Yeah, that all sounds good to me. I'm okay with having it be the official posting place on the web. In the short term, Glenn, though, if you ever need somebody to post something at the town office, I'm always happy to do it. And I am an assistant constable, so I actually have the right to do postings.
Okay, cool.
I'm more than happy to do it on 15 minutes notice.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime. And I think, so this discussion will get into the paper, I hope, and people will know that we're talking about it, but can we delay a vote on this until we get some feedback?
I think I didn't finish my suggestion, but that we draw up a draft of a proposal and we have it vote on it at the next meeting.
Yeah, good. Sounds
Great,
good.
I can get a draft to you soon.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
All right, let me just make a note of it.
We had it on the warrant last time. Does it need to be on the warrant at town meeting? No, okay. Yeah.
It does need to be on the warrant. We just didn't have it on the warrant the right way.
Oh, so
No.
it does need to be.
Well, go ahead, Anna. Anna's got her.
So I've been looking into this, and it is basically, I just need to tell Maura Healy where our official posting place is once it's decided. There is no legislation I can find that says how a town goes about changing it, but once the decision has been made, the municipal clerk, that would be me, tells the Attorney General.
Okay, great.
Well, the open meeting law says the chief executive officer by a simple majority votes to adopt the municipal website as the official method of posting.
I like that we have different things, because I'm looking at open meeting laws 90 CMR 2900 section 29.03.
29.03. I'm trying to see where I'm at.
This was the day, what happened the day of the special town meeting. I was reading from one place that talked about designating it as an alternate site, and Lori, and then we found another place where it talked about needing to have only one, and yeah. Clear as mud.
I'm at 2903 too. So these might be, it's called new open meeting law regulations. I don't know if it's because of what they did with COVID, if it's different than what you're looking at, but I don't think they would have changed that. So I don't.
Mine are the clean version of the open meeting law changes.
Yes.
But once the town decides, however the town wishes to decide in the best compliance with the law, I will let her know.
Okay, thanks, Anna.
Next up is Fisk Pond, and Lori, is this the document that I gave to you that then came back to me?
Yes.
Okay. And it's about needing an inspection or something.
On the dam, a dam inspection.
It's
up for inspection in November.
Oh, you mean we need to have it inspected in November 2022, or it was inspected
by November, I think.
By November, okay. And so does the
I gave it to you though. It's not like, well, you're probably not in the office.
In my bag, yeah. Came home with me. So does the select board need to vote on that or discuss it? Have you done this in the past? How did you do it?
It's probably been, is it 10 years or 5 years that it needs to be inspected?
Don't know.
So it's been a while.
How would the inspection happen? Any idea? Would the select board hire an inspector?
Presumably, if it's our responsibility, yeah, but I'm not sure it is our responsibility.
Okay.
The Concom is responsible for the maintenance of Fisk Pond and includes an expense line for a bunch of stuff. I'm wondering if they put that in their budget. I'm trying to see. I think there were some extra things in their appropriation this year, and that might have been one of them.
Yeah, Glenn, that's you need to contact is the Concom.
Okay,
and I need to know. Yeah, I might have a note.
They have $808 for Fisk Pond expenses.
Yeah, they asked for 1,000 this year, and maybe that had something to do with it.
Yep.
Oh no, they asked for 50 for Fisk Pond alone. They asked for 1,500 this year, maybe, which is double what it was last. So maybe that's the reason.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
So Glenn can connect with them on that.
I will.
Yeah, if you check in, I could probably dig up their appropriation request if I look around here. Maybe that would tell us for sure. Let me look.
So moving ahead, Glenn.
Yes, moving ahead. UMA phones update.
That
I can say I can't even remember what I said last time. I'm not sure much has changed, although it is possible that the equipment that we already have might not really be suitable for the buildings we're wanting to put them in, just in terms of wiring and connecting different things. And we might be able to get something that's a little bit more like the town offices that would be more, that would make more sense, at least for the library and the highway garage. But I'm still waiting on a call back from Whip City to see sort of what's there and what they can offer that might be different. Go ahead, Phyllis.
This was a question that actually just came up at our trustee meeting that we were going to investigate. With this change of the phone line, isn't the fire alarm through the phone line somehow?
Yes, it is.
I wondered how that was going to be affected.
Got to keep it on.
We changed all that back when we were first getting the internet. We made all the alarms hooked into the internet.
Oh, we did.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons the phones were always delayed. This whole transition has been delayed for various reasons. And that was one of them. We needed to wait to get the internet and then switch over the alarms before we could do the phones. And then there was so many other things that happened. So we still don't have phones.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm glad to know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Lori.
Yes. Thank you, Lori. Keeping that moving.
Okay. If you're done with that, I have your update on Fisk Pond.
Oh, okay.
They did not include the dam inspection. They had other reasons for increasing their budget.
Okay.
So that should be in their budget. And so they need to know that. We need to have a rough idea of what it will cost so I can put it in the budget.
Okay. All right, I'll get in touch with them and ask them about it.
Hey, Lori, you might know something about dam inspection costs.
I know. I don't know if I want to say. My memory is 5,000.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, not.
No, I know it's not cheap.
Yeah.
All right.
We do have an engineer we use who I think is probably cheaper. And I don't know if Dan, you referred us to him.
I'm gonna put a placekeeper in their budget.
I don't know why my brain isn't working.
Yeah, I think I did refer to you, but anyway.
So
all right,
I'm sure we can work with him, I imagine.
You're gonna be able to do that, Glenn?
What's that?
Will you be able to get in touch with them, or do you need me to do it?
I'm not saying no to anyone offering to take on tasks. So if you want to do it.
All right, I'll do it.
Okay, thank you. I have board committee vacancies on here, almost like a standing item, but the one that came up that reminded me was about, I don't know if we want to try to get someone on the Pioneer Valley Transportation. Is it the PVTA or the FRTA? Sorry, the FRTA advisory board or whatever it is. Do people want to try to recruit someone for that?
Yeah, we do want to try to recruit somebody, but thanks for mentioning it, and we can put it on the list.
I had an idea, and you may think I'm crazy. I don't know, but I feel like we have some big shoes to fill, like some spots that we really need people. And like we put information out on the listserv and nobody responds, you know, or we contact people and they're like, nope. And I'm wondering if we had invited, we'd have to get the word out, which is challenging, but if we had like a little, come to a coffee hour and learn about how you can be part of our community and get involved.
A job fair.
A little job fair. And entice people somehow to learn more about the positions.
Yeah.
And learn more about how, you know, what the time commitment is for the different positions. You know, maybe we'd need to ask somebody from those boards to speak a little bit about it, just real brief. And maybe we can entice people that way. I think we have a lot of new people in the community who maybe aren't quite sure, maybe have come from bigger communities that aren't quite sure about what it means to be part of a little town. But maybe we could.
We had that young fellow stand up at the town meeting and say that we really need to be including more people, that nobody knows about these meetings. And he was very persuasive and he had a lot of energy. So I think there probably are people like that out there. I think it's a good idea. I'd support it. Maybe a weekend thing, maybe with food.
Definitely with food.
Definitely with food. Right.
But yeah, I'd be behind it.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
I think there's a celebrations account that has some money in it. So we could do some kind of combination of volunteer appreciation and volunteer recruitment kind of thing.
That's a good idea.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And yeah, how about pizza too? That might be.
Yeah, I was thinking like we could go to Hillside Pizza and get those frozen pizzas and put them in the kitchen and just bake up some.
Yeah.
Good idea. Well, you just got a new job as the event planner.
Well, it's a good thing that Doug's contacting the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. I'm doing that as we speak. What are you doing there?
Well, event planner is much more fun.
So then, but the other pressing thing that is on my mind is at the beginning of May. At the beginning of May, we don't have a board of assessors. We have one person.
Oh my God.
And we need them, right? Don't they need to certify the tax rate or something like that? That is really crucial. And how, I feel like that's more pressing than waiting for like a job fair, volunteer appreciation, recruitment. So how do we get somebody, even if it's interim?
Just lost Dan. Oh, how did we lose Dan?
He just disappeared.
The other thought similar is, I thought maybe, I don't know if it was Anna, weren't we going to get some kind of quote as to what it would be if we actually needed RRG to take over all the board activities or something?
Yes, but my understanding too is that's a much longer process. So it's not a quick fix. We actually have to get approval from the state in order to have that happen.
Okay.
So it's more of a sort of like, we need somebody now.
Phyllis.
Josh, Katie, Anna.
Anna's like, what are you talking?
How many hats can you wear, Anna?
Lillian, what about you?
For anybody else, yeah.
How many of us have conflict of interest so we couldn't even do it? Or whatever.
I wish I lived in Wendell. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Oh, do you need us to look for a place for you, Glenn?
We have this cabin on our
How much space do you need?
Well, but if you all are really thinking of moving forward, even if it's going to take time with outsourcing that function, I think it does become a selling point in terms of like, because Anna knows what it's like to be brought in on something on an interim basis and then you're still doing it. So like, if they knew that there was an endpoint where, it really is going to be handed off, if that really is your intention to do.
Well, I think we have to learn more about what it takes.
Yeah. Okay.
And how that would actually work. But I think we still have to have some kind of a board. Glenn, do you want to see if Dan is going to come back?
Oh, yeah. Let me see. Yeah, sure.
What's up, Phyllis?
Oh. Well, I'm just going to say this, that as a town member, as a, taxpayer, there is a part of me that doesn't love that it's all outsourced. that is mistrustful of that. I don't know. I'm just, to not have any control from our townspeople about our assessments.
All right, Phyllis, better get recruiting.
Right. I mean, the problem is, it's like we need people to step forward. Like,
I understand.
Right.
And it's a thankless job. Nobody
You gotta
wants
make your
to do
kids
that.
move back into town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I mean, my family owns property in Maine, and that was outsourced, and boy, it just feels very different. It feels like you have no recourse anymore.
Fortunately, I actually have had extremely good experiences with RRG so far.
Oh, that's
They've
good.
been extremely responsive and
Me too.
respond very quickly. Yeah.
I just need to hear that. That's
Yeah. But I feel like it's something that we should keep on the agenda, because that's coming up really quickly where we need somebody.
Kelly has responded almost instantaneously to both to requests for town information relevant to finance and the select board, and also to my own personal property very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Glenn?
I got Dan on speakerphone. His internet went out.
Oh.
Oh no.
Can you hear okay, Dan?
I can hear pretty well. Yeah, thank you.
And can you all hear him?
Yes.
Okay, great. What did we miss? Did you find a solution?
Well, I think we just need to keep at least especially the assessor position on the agenda for really doing some recruitment, and all of us need to work really hard to try to see if we can find somebody to at least temporarily fill in.
Should we go door to door?
During COVID times, people don't do that anymore.
Yeah, really. It's actually kind of an interesting job. It's not boring.
Yeah. I mean, it might require like a actual like phone banks or something. Just, literally call everyone in the book and see.
Can we go through the street list, Anna?
I've gone through the street list. Somebody else is welcome to look at it if they wish. I have it printed out.
You didn't see, yeah.
It's hard to say from a name how willing and available they would be. I do have a few people I would like to ask to either be appointed to or write in ballot for a school committee. But I'm holding on to those names selfishly because I am on school committee and we're going to be losing a member of our group soon. So, yeah.
Dan, are you there? He is. Okay. I'm hanging up on you, Dan.
Back. Internet is back.
I'm back.
Good. One thing, just the other side of it, should we ask Anna or Martha to come, or Kelly to come to our next meeting to give us an idea of what the RRG process is? Get that started if needed, so we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Sounds
and an
like a good
estimate
idea.
of costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of special permission is needed from the state and why, like, I don't know the logistics around that. Okay. All right. So we're just about done, but I did have a couple things or just questions, check-ins about some stuff that I wanted to. One of them is assessor related, or not assessor, excuse me, tax collector related.
Go ahead.
We had the meeting regarding the QDS software, and I was wondering where that was at, and if anybody knows if they've done the trial in terms of running seeing if it bridges with the assessors.
Don't know where that's at.
Okay.
No, don't know.
Do you want me to just send an email and check in?
That would be awesome.
It just seems like a big ticket item.
We put it in the budget. We did.
For QDS.
Mm-hmm.
I still felt I'd love confirmation to make sure that it works.
Yeah. Having the money to do it doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah. And then Glenn, did you have any word yet with Chris from Hilltown?
No, I think I put in a phone call and didn't hear back. I was going to put it on your agenda for May because in the contract that was never signed, it said that you wanted to check in on the contract once a year in May. So we could discuss it then. I don't know, at some point, I don't know what you want, we could be on an agenda, like what you want to do if they remain non-responsive. So
Dan, do you have a relationship with him? Have you talked to him before?
No, Hilltown? I don't think so.
From Hilltown Networks, who has the equipment on the police station?
Well, yeah, maybe a long time ago.
Okay.
Not recently.
I could try making it more easy for him because I think I emailed him the PDF and he would have had to print it up, sign it, mail it back. So I could print a hard copy and mail it with the return address, thing. So with a little sign here thing, make it really easy. I could try that.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you do that, Glenn? See.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I think we had that document from DEP regarding Swift River. And Gillian, I saw your note on that, and I just wanted to respond a bit to that, I don't know, do you know Dee Dee at all? Dee Dee Cabral? Well, the person who wrote that letter is an old Wendell resident. And so we have a long history with her. She served on some town boards, so we know her quite well. And we know she's, for one thing, very intelligent. And she's also a fierce competitor. And she also has great knowledge about the law. So my first response to seeing that document was that we just need to sign this and send it back to her, because it's just part of the process of.
Okay. I just am not familiar with it, and I didn't know what kind of commitment that was with us signing it.
It is a commitment, but I'm afraid it's one that we've got to make, which is just that we're going to try to follow the laws of the DEP. Okay. And you're right in saying that the person who, the consultant, is not going to start doing the test next week. And I'm not sure I saw all the communications on that, but I think he wanted to do something before sending a camera down the well. But maybe you could pursue that with them, with the consultant, and find out exactly if there's something holding them up or if we can help them speed things along.
Well, in the email that Lori had forwarded from him, it said that from Chris was that he, see if I say it correctly, stop me, Lori, if I'm wrong, that that letter from DEP, he got concerned about that and was stepping back and wanting to possibly have a different consultant who did more work with DEP step in.
Oh, I didn't see anything like that.
Okay. And well, and that's, Kelly at Swift River had not received that communication either. So they were still trying to figure out what they needed to plan for staffing this week. And she just happened to ask me about it today. And I was like, uh-oh, she never got word that it wasn't happening this week.
So you got the impression that our consultant is essentially backing out?
Lori, do you want to step in? Because
I think that's seemed like what he was saying, yeah, which is really frustrating, especially when they were just gonna go do this next week. But we never even had gotten like a quote or anything. So I'm sort of wondering if.
I think we need to meet again.
Yeah. And I was thinking I could call Jenny this week or tomorrow and see what she thinks should be the next step, and that we should get together and meet.
Meaning a joint meeting of Wendell and New Salem, right? The select boards.
Or
Yeah.
there was a group identified to work on it.
There was. I know I was on it, and Jenny, and one of the select board, maybe Wayne. Is he leaving? He's leaving the select board, right?
I don't know.
I think so, but he may not be off yet.
So yeah, I'll call Jenny and see how we could meet maybe more quickly than doing a joint meeting. Maybe we can also try to set something up as a joint meeting, but maybe we can do something quicker with just Jenny and Chris or Kelly.
Yeah, I think, Lori, that it would be great if you could do something quicker in the small group.
Yeah.
And if you can't do something quicker in the small group, let us know. And I think we should have a meeting with them as soon as possible, because this document from DEP is pretty serious.
Yeah.
It is locking us into a getting serious mode.
And it's the towns that are responsible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Doug, you're on mute. You're on mute, Doug. Sorry, we can't hear you.
What's it say? I didn't get it. I'm not at an official capacity anymore. So,
oh, it's essentially an order of understanding that that the town is essentially agreeing with DEP that we've got a serious problem and we got to deal with it.
Oh, that's not that much different than they said before.
This is a binding document. That's the difference.
What? I don't see where it's really.
Glenn,
I mean,
maybe Glenn can send you a copy of it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And Josh would like it too.
As you remember, the correspondence we had with them, which she agreed to that we weren't able to complete, was that the select boards would sign a document that said we mutually agree that we will take care of this and due diligence, and we'll give you a plan and a time frame for it. And New Salem wouldn't sign it. So I could see where she's kind of concerned, but we have made progress. We did get an engineering report and it confirmed what we were thinking. So I don't know. We're gonna have to do something about it one way or another. So I don't understand why it would make any difference myself.
That what would make any difference?
Well,
whatever you sign, we are committed to it. The town has to do it no matter what. And you know, the only guideline that we have controversy with before was that we had issue with the DEP's approval of the plan to put in a filter, and they're not forcing us to do that, right? I mean, if this letter is not saying you have to put in a filter, then we're still responsible for doing what the best thing to do for the long term is, which we assume is either repairing or replacing the well, because we think it's groundwater, and all the evidence points to that.
Exactly.
So,
may I read one part of it?
Yeah, of course.
It says the respondent shall perform the following actions. And it says, within 60 days of the effective date of this consent order, respondent shall submit a long-term corrective action plan to reduce the PFAS 6 level to reliably and consistently below the MCL. Long-term action may include construction of a new treatment facility, the addition of a PFAS 6 treatment to an existing treatment facility, or the installation of a new PWS well. The long-term action plan must be stamped by a Massachusetts registered professional engineer with expertise in drinking water. And the plan must include an alternatives analysis, including a feasibility evaluation, effectiveness determination, cost estimate, and implementation schedule. So I think in that it's saying those are your options. It
sounds like the option that the engineering report we got was just about that. The only difference is it didn't include an estimate of price, and he couldn't give us a time frame, but he tried to give us a time frame. I don't know what stopped it now, but he clearly, that was an engineering plan to remedy the problem, was to repair the well, because all the evidence indicated the fact that it's leaking where it connects, where it meets the bedrock.
Yeah.
And so all they had to do was investigate to see if that was true, try to repair it. If that didn't work, we'd drill a new one. But It's not that complicated.
This doesn't say repair though. This says either a treatment facility or installation of a new well.
Well,
this would essentially be the installation of a new well.
It is the installation of a new well. Exactly. It is.
And I don't think DEP would quibble with that. They would agree that if we repair this well so it's working without the PF chemicals, that would meet their guidelines. And it may not be spelled out literally in this document, but I think it does meet their goal.
Well, I think we need to find out if it does.
Oh, it's unfortunate that these steps weren't been able to be taken in the last 6 weeks. You know, I think the last time I sent her an update now was probably 2 months ago. I'm supposed to get one every month. I thought that Jim's critique of the issue of the filter is substantial.
Yeah.
And everyone else who knows anything about wells has concurred.
Well, we have to have this returned by May 4th.
Well, Gillian, maybe you would like to have a conversation with Dee Dee.
She's very nice.
She can be very nice.
The struggle I'm having is I'm going on vacation on Saturday, so it'll be okay for me to get it done before then.
Well, I think that the question that you're raising is legitimate, and probably it does make sense to try to clarify it with Dee Dee. And so maybe I'm the person to call her. I don't know.
That'd be good, Dan. I talked to her once. She was, but the other thing that I'm thinking about it is, that I think our vested interest, like I've said in many of the communications with her and with others, is that our vested interest is in having a long-term solution that works for the town, because we invested so much money in the school. It would be ridiculous to put this stupid filter in there if we don't need it.
Right.
And it's like not really a long-term solution. It's really an intermediate solution. And we'd have no idea what the consequences of it would be. So I think we're on solid ground in that regard. And you could think of it this way is, so if it takes us longer to get this done than we're hoping, and if there's some roadblocks in the process of getting to determine whether or not we can repair the old one before we drill a new one, what are they going to do about it? They're going to fine us?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. They're going to fine a public school. Yeah, good. We'll put that in the newspaper. See how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. But
no, they won't do that.
I think
they won't do that.
I think maybe Gillian, I can give Dee Dee a call.
Dan, do you want me to check in with Jenny first? I'm feeling like I'm not even sure how we've been communicating with the DEP up until now. Doug, you said did you say you talked to DEP?
I've communicated extensively with DEP about this. That we got a bunch of angry letters from them that were legitimate back in December or January, when I was the interim coordinator, and no one had been responding to them. And partly that was because it goes back to we were not privy to what the plan was for these filters, and it took a lot of cajoling, you might say, or a lot of butt kicking to get the people in the administration to send information about that they actually had gotten from the remediation plan that they were given and the DEP had approved. Once we saw that and we looked at it, I sent that to Jim, and I thought about it myself, and I shared it with some other people, and we said, this is a bad idea. This is not what we want to do. So I called her and I said that we'd like to avoid this. There's good reasons to avoid this. And she said, well, okay, but what I really need to know is the select boards. I explained to her, remember, the thing that really helped was Gillian, you told me, I was to remember this, you told me that Kelly was teaching in the after school program during the pandemic because there were not enough teachers and staff. And I said to her, this is the problem, is that the Union 28 staff and the staff at the school have been overwhelmed and they haven't been able to complete this. So we really need to bump this over to the select boards and the managers in the town to take care of this, of the towns. And so she said, okay, that's good. you figure out a plan, you do the due diligence, you keep me up to date on what you're doing, and you get the select boards to agree to a plan and a timeline for how long it's going to take. Well, we got the meeting and we had agreement from them, and a lot of the people in New Salem were finally realizing that the filter wasn't a good idea and that they really did need to look further, and they went and got the engineer, which was great. So for a couple of months, I sent Dee Dee some updates, but I haven't been in the loop since then, so I haven't been doing it. So she might be getting nervous because she wasn't hearing from anybody.
Yeah.
But so I think that, Dan, if you could talk to her and tell her it's still in the process, find out if we can find out, this engineer seemed to know what he was doing. He had a good plan. It was a reasonable expense to take a crack at fixing the old one. It wasn't going to be so costly as it wasn't worth a shot. And if you find out what his resistance is now, that would be helpful, and we could include that to her. And somehow basically trying to determine what the odds are that a new well would be good. Very few of the wells that I've heard people getting tested, they've shown PFAS when the deep wells. It's not happening.
So
it's all groundwater.
I think, Lori, the best thing would be for number one, for you to talk with New Salem and see where they're at in all this, and find out what the story is with the consultant. Okay. And if we need a new one, or if this person is going to continue, get the details on that and let me know, and then I'll call Dee Dee.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll essentially give her orally our plan for fixing this, and then we can write something up also and present that to her, so she's got something written.
I think it would help if we could get New Salem to sign that on it. I think it would help a lot. I think she's just nervous because nothing's happening.
Yeah.
The original plan from Chris, I don't know if that got to DEP. I feel like there was some conversation. It did get to DEP.
I sent that to Dee Dee.
Okay, good. Okay.
I mean, I think I had that. That was the original plan I saw, was the report they got. And he said he was going to do the work. He's not just a consultant. He was an engineer and he was going to do the work. Yeah. I sent her that.
Yeah. So Lori, find out what's happening with them and let me know. And then I'll give her a ring and we'll see if we can make her happy.
Okay.
Would you like me to come in and sign the document tomorrow before I leave?
Yeah. Was there any indication on the document when she wanted it back?
May 4th, I think.
What did I just say? May 4th, I think.
She wants it back by May 4th?
Yes.
Well, then let's not mail it back until May 3rd.
Whatever. I don't think it matters whether you kind of just comply. Just comply.
If we're going to comply,
no,
I think
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just
I think we should. I think we should sign it and send it back, because I think we are committed to a process.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no doubt that we're committed to a process. We're not ignoring it.
Yeah. So Lori, can you sign that also at some point before too long?
Sure. Yeah.
It's no longer in your inbox. If someone can tell me when they're going in, I can tell you exactly where it is. So
you can.
I'll tell you.
Okay. I'll go in tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, Glenn, let's just leave it on the table, and when we have 3 signatures,
I'll leave it on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, because Gillian's going on vacation, so she wants to do it before she leaves, and I might not be back in the office tomorrow. So.
Okay.
Are you just gone for the week? I know you just emailed us, but I didn't look at
I'm gone for the week.
Okay.
So it's getting really late, I know, but just a couple more things, and they can go on the agenda for next week, or for next meeting, excuse me. But one, I know Eric had conversations with you, Lori, or you had conversations with Eric, and then he sent me a couple pictures today, and he was just wanting to know if we could have a conversation about pest control at the town buildings. I think he talked with you too, Glenn.
Yeah, he talked to me at length today, and yeah, that needs to happen. So I'll put it on the agenda for the 27th.
And then it's dropped off my radar, but our conversation about having a follow-up hearing regarding the policing in Wendell.
Maybe for the fall.
Maybe. and then just maybe some support, Glenn, to help you get the newsletter out.
Yeah.
So that we can put that on the next meeting.
Okay. Or maybe I'll get the newsletter done by then. That'd be good motivation.
Okay.
Okay, gang.
And elections are coming up. Anna, do you need any help with that?
I will need people to work the polls, but that is in the hands of my lovely assistants. So no.
Okay.
But thank you for asking.
I keep thinking of other things. What about purchasing a sign to say elections?
I have looked into that, and I can find a 3-foot by 4-foot magnetic sign that would stand outside of the town offices for under $200.
Well, can it be on the corner of the common, or does it have to be outside the town offices?
No, it's mobile. I was just
using
that as a location.
Sorry. I didn't know if the magnet needed something specific.
It needs to be near the town flag at some point, but no, it's I'm not sure who would be, if that would come from my department or what, but I'm happy to purchase that on the town credit card or something.
Yeah, Glenn do the same old trick there. Either the select board budget, if it has anything in it, or the town clerk's expense budget if it has enough in it. But if none of those, just the town properties, and like say we'll do a transfer in June. That one's going into deficit, so that'd be fine. Any of those.
Can you put that in an email to me, Doug?
In a note to you? Yeah, I will.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So I would also need either the town credit card number, or I will just put in a reimbursement for myself.
Yeah, Carolyn's going to come and talk about credit card at the next meeting, but she's really not a fan of us using it. So I think one of the things will be wherever employees are comfortable charging and getting reamboursed, we would.
That's fine. I'll do it that way then. I need to go to sleep, so I would like this meeting to conclude very soon.
I'm with you.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. I just need to tell you one thing.
Oh.
You'll be glad to know I won't be at the next meeting. and if I come to the one on May 4th, I'll be doing it from a bar where my gig is. So before the gig, I can set that up maybe for the first hour. But I'll try to get someone from the FinCom to come in my stead. There may be issues. If there aren't any issues, then so be it.
We'll miss you, Doug.
Next on the agenda is adjournment.
Adjournments.
Unless we have any further items from anybody. I don't have any, so I move we adjourn at 9:41. I think that's a record for this board.
You're a great select board. You're a wonderful select board. One of the best ever.
I think we've got a great board. I agree. Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
We're adjourned. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
What's this chat? Leave meeting. I think that happened.